So before the video starts, I just want to put this little disclaimer on here. The author is Terry Goodkind. Now, in the fantasy community, there is a lot of controversy that comes with this fella here. So I'm not going to speak about said controversies and all that stuff or anything like that. I do understand why he's controversial and all that stuff, but when I read this whole series first, I did not look up anything about the author or anything like that. I just read the entire series, and then I looked it up way afterwards. So this is basically my first impression on all my my things, thoughts, and all that good stuff. And yeah, so please take it as a disclaimer that this is reviewing from when I first read it and not from what I know now. So please enjoy the video, and please try to keep the comments tame if you can. Thank you. Welcome everyone to another Pixelated review. I'm your host, Pixelated Jordan. So we have this fantasy series called The Sword of Truth. My buddy at work recommended this to me because I was sitting there like at work going like, I need another book to read. And he's like, hey, I read this a long time ago. Why didn't you check it out? It's a long series and you can like it. I'm like, cool, all right, cool. So I read all 11 books. And well, this is my initial first impression when I read all said books. So let's take a wild trip back for when I first read these books and tell you what I think of the Sword of Truth. So without further ado, let's start the review. Tier Bad, Temple of the Winds. Oh boy, where to start on this book? Like, seriously, man, this is like the 4th book, and I'm just sitting here like this. Why this? And it's not even like it was like just so terrible like the whole way through. It just got bad when it got to really the ending. And Richard, the main character, he just was the absolute worst in this. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention spoilers if that wasn't clear. Yeah, it just got bad, and then the prophecy is just weird, and it just didn't make any sense, and and the Temple of the Winds itself, like, it sounds cool, and then it doesn't, and I don't know. There was a lot of bad in this one, and this one just made me go, what happened? What happened? We were on a good road, and then all of a sudden this happens, and then now I'm like, I don't even know where this is at. So yeah, this is the bad tier right here. This right here, bad. I don't like this one. And then, well, we got the next one after that. Tier Bad, Soul of the Fire. This one isn't that bad. It's just so boring. The problem with this one is that they have these characters who are who basically own slaves, basically. That's basically what's going on in this book. And they try to tell these people, oh, you made us like this was your fault, so you're forever sinned and all that. And it's like, these are terrible people, and the other people are going along with it, and they just kind of stick with it because they feel bad, or they made them feel bad. And it just gets so bad. And especially when the Imperial Order comes in, you would kind of expect after, the 3rd book the 4th book, really, that's where things were kind of kicking off. But man, I just sat here like, why? This is so boring. And then when it gets to the end, you don't even care for the characters at the end. Oh yeah, all those characters that we just meet, they all die, and we just don't care for them. Like, and then the whole city is falling apart, but it's obviously their fault, and it's like, all of you guys kind of suck anyway. So as much as, technically it's a much better win for the war, for the Imperial War, but honestly, this was boring, and the characters I just did not care for. And even the Soul of Fire it adds to like later in the story, but even then it's like, what happened? What happened again? I'm so confused. But yeah, so this one was just so boring, and the political stuff just didn't hit where it's supposed to, I think. But yeah, didn't enjoy that one. Tier Forgettable, Phantom. As the name implies, this is pretty forgettable. I think the reason why is because they just revisit a lot of things that we already know about from literally 10 of the other books, and they just say things on repeat. It feels like it's a lot of filler because we don't need to know all of it, and it kind of bugs. So it's like, okay, let's get on with the plot, but no, they have to explain this magic, and they have to explain that, and they have to go blah blah blah. Okay. And I know it takes place after, the chain fire event and all that stuff, and then the Souls of Fire is affecting it as well. So it's a lot of things at play, but even then, it's like, you constantly are repeating things that we already knew about, so let's stop repeating and keep going forward. This constantly was a repeat, and it just kind of got boring. I get the name, like, oh, it's a Phantom because Kaylin's not real, even though she is real, and it was just the Chainfire event that ended up doing all that, but oh well. And it's just like, can we just get away from that and just move on with the plot, because they're actually kind of hitting somewhere where I would like to. But yeah, this one was forgettable. I just remembered very small things about this one, and it just kind of most things I already knew about, so I can kind of live without this one. But even then, there's still important things for, like, at least the conclusion of the story. But yeah, this one wasn't that good. So yeah, that's why it's under forgettable tier. Tier meh, the Pillars of Creation. This one was a good one. I actually really enjoyed this. There was a lot of cool ideas that they introduced. One, Richard has a long lost sister, cliche, of course, that usually is. But she's unaffected by magic, and that opened up different kinds of windows, and it was just really cool to see kind of how that kind of works. It was actually really cool. It's just like a regular person, but they just can't be affected by any sort of magic, which includes Wizard's Fire, which is crazy to think about. But yeah, no, the whole concept of this one kind of leaned on, Richard's sister and all that stuff. But Richard was doing something else during this whole event. Basically, it feels like the revamp of the second book, basically. Again, but that didn't really play a role at all. It just seemed like, oh, Richard and Kaylin doing their thing, and this is what they're at, and well, his sister's there, and she assumes she's like Richard's like Darkenroll, and he's like, oh, he's gonna kill me, and I gotta protect myself. Falls for the Imperial Order, and their tricks, and then she finds out, oh, Richard's actually a pretty cool guy. So overall, it's not bad, and especially with the more Sith part, I actually found that very entertaining. But overall, it really wasn't a bad one. It just was the middle of the road, because it does get kind of boring here and there, and I feel things are a little bit over-explained, but overall, it's not bad. It's just not as impactful as I hoped it could have been, so needless to say, this was pretty good, I gotta say, pretty good. Tier meh, Naked Empire. The Naked Empire is a continuation after the Pillars of Creation. It was really good. We went to this dark valley where there was all these people who weren't affected by magic, so building off the Pillar of Creation. It ended up just being a bunch of people who were pacifist, and there's a whole thing with Darkenroll sending all these people away and all that stuff, and how it's gonna be a curse, it's gonna run down the whole magic system and all that stuff. And it was actually really cool. And then we got a different villain this time that wasn't Jagang, for the first time ever. It felt like for so long that we just stuck in with just Jagang, and that was it. But finally, we got someone else, and it actually was really entertaining. Though, all these characters didn't want to fight. It was very frustrating because, oh, we don't want to do it. And Richard's like, hey, it's kind of messed up. You're making me do it and not getting your hands dirty, even though you poisoned me to do your dirty work. So it's like, are you really that good? Are you really that pacifist? So there's a lot of things that this book did. It was actually really entertaining, and I really did enjoy it in terms of, that right there. And the pure fun of the the villain for this one, he was pretty cool. I admit I had a lot of fun with him, but I think it's because it was just different enough from the Jagang War and all that stuff that I was like, okay, I can deal with this. This was a lot of fun, and yeah, no, this was something entertaining, and I really enjoyed it. I think this one was definitely a little bit better than what came before, though the ending was a bit, I would say Deus Ex Machina, but in the end, I still had a pretty good time with the book, and yeah. And then that's the next one is Tier Meh, Chainfire. Chainfire is very entertaining. The way we started, Chainfire was just out of nowhere. After Naked Empire, it seemed like we knew where we were going to go, and then all of a sudden, this happens. Kaylin's missing, and Kaylin's not even remembered. So it ended up just being this long twist and turn, and then there's a giant monster that's coming after Richard, and the monster can't even be killed. Nikki tries to help out the best she can, and Like it's just crazy, and like it's just mystery is like, what is Chainfire? Well, how's this working out? What does the Wizards of the Old know about this stuff? Like, there's so many questions. It's very entertaining, I think, in the long run, because of what's going on and asking questions. Did this actually happen? Like, when I first read it, yeah, I was actually kind of getting confused. I was like, is she real? Is she not real? Like, Kaylin should be real. Like, it was crazy to think about. Like, did we actually go through this whole journey and he just imagined her somehow? Like, it was crazy to kind of like piece in the puzzles, going like, no, he was there, and then someone contradicted, going like, oh no, didn't happen. This happened this way. Like, the whole book was very crazy and entertaining, especially when it got to that end. But the thing that does kind of fault this to make it into meh tier is some of the repeated stuff. Other than contradicting Kaylin's existence, it was like some of the repeats of magic and stuff like that we don't really care. Also, magic's kind of weird in this series. Like, I can't find the solid foundation of magic. It's hard to say, but oh well. It's like, it's, if I compare it to Levy, I know the magic system. This one, not really. I don't know. So it's kind of hard to say. It seems like spells kind of just work, but that's okay. But I did find this book very entertaining, and this was a crazy ride. So, and this started off into the last trilogy, I think it said. I think it's called the Chainfire trilogy or something like that. Or no, it's called the Confessor trilogy. There we go, the Confessor trilogy. Yeah. Alright then, so yeah, and that's the last on my meh tier. So what is on the next tier? Check it out. Confessor. This is the conclusion to the Sword of Truth series, or at least the first part of Sword of Truth. There was, a sequel series afterwards kind of coming after this, but this is as far as what I've read too. And this is the conclusion to the Imperial War. And with all things said and done, with everything put together, this was wrapped up pretty nicely, I guess you can say, with the souls of fire being extinguished, like from what actually happened from that event, and then the chain fire event, actually going bye-bye as well, and getting the Imperial Order what they want, but also out of their world, and bringing back what they brought from the first book to this one. And then with Jigang, here's one of the biggest complaints I think I have for the whole series. Jigang and Richard never full-on fought 1v1. It was always this cat and mouse game, and they never fought against each other like face to face. I've always wanted that to happen, but they never did, so it was kind of disappointing. Though Nikki got the final kill for Jigang, and though it's much more better for her to do it than Richard, I just still wanted at least one time for them to fight. They just never had a fight. Though we did have a very entertaining kind of game for football, or their version of football, I guess you could call it that. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. And then, at the end, how it just kind of goes on, oh yeah, we finally got magic all together now. We don't have to worry about any of these Imperial Wars anymore and all that stuff. So basically the ending is just we live in the world that has no magic. So that's basically what the end is. And so whatever happened in the sequel series happens in the sequel series. I don't know. But for this one, I think it's solid for what it was worth, and it was much more of an entertaining adventure. Though, like I said, the one playing with Jigang and Richard not fighting, but that's it. Other than that, I would definitely put this in a check it out tier. Tier I recommend. Stone of Tears. The Stone of Tears is the longest book. It clocked in like in 32 hours for the book or something like that. It was crazy long. But I found it entertaining. There was a lot of new fantasy creatures that they introduced and to the sisterhood and all that stuff. Yeah, there's a sisterhood, and that's something else entirely. And that's where Richard's stories mainly plays. And then when it comes to Kaylin, she has her own side of things that she's dealing with on the other side of the world. And it's very entertaining, I think. I think it's paced pretty well for the most part. I wasn't bored. I was kind of just going in with the journey. I kind of liked it, actually. It really didn't feel like it was really long, but I've heard some people complain that this is just boring long, but I don't know why. I didn't get the same feeling as like everyone else did. I found it entertaining, and I was just going along with the journey. And I like the idea that they were trying to teach magic, even though I still have no idea how the magic system works entirely, but it is still really cool. I did enjoy this overall, though when it comes to, the devil basically of this universe coming to play, it's all like, oh, he's gonna come back and Dark and Raw is gonna come back and all that stuff. It was a bit weird, but it was a very easy plot, and this was the plot that was kind of repeated in the Pillars of Creation, but we didn't focus on that one, so it doesn't really count, I guess. But this one was pretty good. I did like this one. This was fine. I think it was good, and I like the creatures, and I like how the sword was really played a big role in this one. So yeah, I think overall this was a very entertaining story, and yeah, definitely a really long one too to put on top of that, but nonetheless I found it very enjoyable. Tier I recommend: Blood of the Fold. One word: broken. Seriously, that guy was hilarious. This guy was hilarious, and the Blood of the Fold is cool. I really liked it. And the dragons were cool, but there were only one dragon, man. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself here. But broken, God, that guy was the highlight of this whole book. Like, I like the Richard stuff where he actually got the castle from Dark and Raw, and he's actually in charge, and everyone's following his lead. I actually do like that, but I like the Blood of the Fold, broken, being a leader. He was just outstanding, and he has a sister, and the sister has the gift and all that stuff, and he's saying that, oh, the creator is telling me what I need to do, and it's actually Jagang, and that's actually hilarious on top of that too, which is awesome. And I just love when he just decides to go like, no, the creator is a traitor. I am the creator now, just because he shot lightning one time. Yeah, and the book overall, entertaining. Brogan played a good part, so that's why I kind of just talk about Brogan all the time. But overall, this book kind of had a nice, easy kind of plot going on from it, building on from the second one and then the third. And Blood of Foe didn't really play a big role. It was like more of a, like, hey, here's what to come with the Imperial Order. And that's about it. They kind of disbanded at the end anyways. And Brogan died which kind of sucks, but overall I really did like this. So this was a lot of fun and very entertaining, and just remember, broken. Tier I recommend: Faith of the Fallen. Believe it or not, I had a hard time picking between this and then the next one after this, which I'm pretty sure you can probably guess at this point, but this one was really a powerful book, honestly, because it really kind of separates the Imperial Order and what Richard Raw wants to do with the world. One is really fighting for freedom. One is literally fighting for people to be equal, even though their equality is not really equal. So, yeah, I don't know how that works. But point is, it's freedom versus equality. That's kind of what's going on. Individuals versus the group of many. It's really good stuff, because we get to see the world of the Imperial Order and how they run things. You know how in Souls in the Fire, how I said the political stuff was sucky and really boring and all this stuff, but this was very entertaining because we're experiencing it through, being a civilian, all that stuff. It is actually pretty entertaining, and there's also a stake with Kaylin and then Nikki being a bad guy in this one and then turning good at the end of the story. It was really just a good book in general. I really enjoyed this whole book. It was very just something I just kind of connected to, just because of that one part of just being, individuals and being equal. It was so hard to pick between the two, but it's like, which one do you want more of, And I think this one kind of has that argument. No, it's not very perfect, I'll admit that right there, but I really found it entertaining, and just the end was very, very good. So, but if anything else, I'll definitely leave this as my number 2. Tier I recommend: Wizard's First Rule. This was a new experience for me. I enjoyed what I read here. This was something new to me. I'd never really got into fantasy that often, so this was a new beginning for me, and I enjoyed every moment of it. Kaylin and Richard's relationship, Zed, man, I love Zed. Zed's one of the best characters I absolutely fell in love with from the moment go. I think he was hilarious. And I love how he had to correct someone in the crowd when he said, if you're going to insult me, you might as well do it correctly. Call me a warlock, not a witch. I thought that was hilarious. And the pacing of the story is good. Dark and Raw was just brutal, but it was really good, and how it ends wasn't just in the fisticuffs and fighting magic with magic. It was outsmarting one another, and I really liked that. It was just like, dang, that's a really good thing. I found this book so entertaining, and the experience I got from the first time I ever saw this book, read this book throughout, it was just, man, this was really good. This was something I'd never experienced before, and I enjoyed every moment of it. And yeah, this was something neat. There's something new that I've never seen before, and I really liked it. So here's the tier list. Everything from bad to I recommend it tier. So before we go and part ways, I do have one thing to say. I'm aware of Terry Goodkind and his actions and how he kind of viewed himself and how he kind of is to the fantasy community. So I understand that people just don't like the name because they just, after what he's done and all that stuff, so I get it. And I don't condemn people for just saying that. And for people who do really like these books because they just like these books based on that, and hey, that's cool too. I can actually relate to you, but at the same time, I gotta understand, this guy wasn't, I understand there's some bad juju for some people. And though the man passed away, I'm gonna show some respect. The guy passed away, so I won't talk anything bad about like that. But this is just coming off from my first impressions of the story, like I said. So this isn't based off of, now, like, oh, this is how it is and everyone's just wrong. Like, no, it's just my first impressions, and this was my first impression, and I just want to talk about it, and that was it. So, and if you don't like these books regardless, and I understand. I won't blame you, and I understand, the things that get pointed at him all the time, so I'm not going to sit there and argue it. And do I think you need to look up information before you read a book? Not necessarily, but I guess it's something like this. Maybe you should, but then again, I don't know. I enjoyed the stories that I got, but then again, I should probably check out the stories that did come from them, But other than that, I won't give this series a rating just based off of that right there. But if you do want to check these books out, well, then here's my review on how I took it personally from my first initial thought. And if you're a Terry Goodkind fan, and you like these books, then there you go. We can talk if you want to and all that good stuff. We can just talk about how we enjoyed the book. Overall, that's about it, Just, this is my take on the Wizard's First Rule Book, and just the whole Sword of Truth series. I enjoyed it, what I had, and I can't take away the experience I had. And that's about it, The experience I had made me have fun. And though I understand the guy's controversial, this is just one man's opinion of when he first read the book. So, thank you for watching. Thank you guys for watching again. I have more reviews coming in the future and more other little reviews that you guys can go watch out. And some of my older videos that had video game stuff. So, yeah, that's about it. So, thank you guys for watching, and I hope you guys have a great day.